Okay, I guess we'll call the meeting to order then at, was it 6:03? And first item is the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next thing is the minutes of last month's meeting. Before I call for approval, I have some suggestions for things I think need to be changed. Maybe I'll go through those first. Item number 3, election of officers. It's a Duber elected Doring. I think maybe that should say nominated.
Yes,
You
I agree.
able to do that by yourself?
No. No.
So
Yes.
that would also apply to the next sentence for
Yes.
Michelle. Okay. That needs to be changed.
Then showing that the vote was a yay, unanimous yay. Do we need to
Well, I
include
don't
that
know.
in the minutes?
Was there actually a vote or,
Yes, I think we all
Okay.
Yeah, I
voted
think
to
so.
approve you.
okay.
That
You could
needs to
add
be
that.
included.
Nation was approved and I accepted. How's that? Then on page 3. Got a couple of references to people who spoke. And there's an Eric and a Jan. Do we have a last name for either of those people?
I can start adding last name if that's fine.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Okay,
And then in second paragraph under that where it says Jan asked where this would take Labonte. Is that Jan or should that be Jen?
Actually, it was me.
You? Which
this
one?
was in her public statement when she was talking.
No, actually, it wasn't. I was the one that addressed Karen Labonte and asked where it would be taken. I watched the video.
Okay,
And also that Jan, it was me and Michelle. Yeah.
so I think you should change that then to Anita. And or we're in Valagura, however you're doing that.
Good job saying my name.
Uh,
Good job saying my name.
Did I say it right?
No, perfect. Like it's like never happens.
Well, been around long enough. I've heard it. Okay. And finally, on page 4.
Hmm.
I would like to remove my name from the list of people that voted aye.
Oh, I don't have a page for online.
I don't either.
Well, it got shoved down to page 38. It was a little bit
Good job, Anita.
Yes.
it was well
a
hidden.
little hard to follow.
It was well hidden, but it was there.
The new Adobe Acrobat is hard with that.
I don't even understand.
Find it.
I didn't hear, Dave, if you mentioned also, only my first name is showing there too. Throughout.
Okay, not on this page, but
Yeah, on page 3, Harvey felt a new design might help save the shore pine tree.
okay.
And then I think that for some reason on my comments, they're characterized the same way. I'm not sure what I felt, but I stated that a new design might help save the tree.
Okay,
It kind of goes to my mood or whatever. So anyway, it's a detail. And you don't need to change it, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Did you find the use of page 4 yet?
Can't find it either.
It's on page 39, but some of them are video. But I will make notes so we don't have to delay. Okay, Dave, so page 4.
Okay, under motion and vote places, the vote. You can scratch my name from the I column
Sure.
and make the vote 4-1. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything?
Yes, I do. In watching the video and looking at the minutes, where testimony from the proponents, there were none. Eric and Jan spoke as opponents, although Eric did make a comment that maybe he should have spoken as a proponent. So according to the meeting, Jan and Eric spoke as opponents. And I guess I would just say that I feel like, given this particular item on the agenda, that we would want the minutes to reflect a very clear context of the discussions that were taking place. And I know that the spoken word being transcribed to the written word is an art. But I just feel that this particular minutes, to me, did not reflect a lot of I felt really good discussion that took place for some of the ideas that we had before the applicant.
And I just want to note that the minutes are just that, minutes. We're not transcribing. That's a different art, as you so speak. And their minutes
Mhm.
just have to reflect what's going on.
Mhm.
And she can do her best at that,
Right.
and we'll reflect that, but they're always available online, and we can watch them, the whole video, and pick it up from there as well.
I have a question on that. These minutes are taken by city staff, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you okay with
Um,
what Josh
if-
said?
yeah, with adding what I did as far as the minutes reflecting what the discussions that took place regarding the application. And encouraging people to watch the video to see the full conversations that took place. And
Okay,
I can approve them.
I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes as amended then.
I will motion the minutes be approved as amended.
Oh,
Second.
second, is that what I'm saying?
Okay.
He's looking at me.
Those in favor?
I
All right.
I still don't have page 4, but
Okay. Probably have it, you just haven't
It's-
found it. yet.
yeah, I looked, I mean, probably.
Okay,
I did think it ended up roughly.
so. Next item on the agenda is quasi judicial hearing regarding renotice and continuation of DRB 23-08. Bill Whitesell application for relocation of the dumpster corral at the Wayside Inn.
I've got added information about the landscape if you'd like to see it.
We'll get to that later. Okay, Bill Watson, application on behalf of Wayside Inn to relocate the dumpster corral. Property owned by Westover Inns Incorporated, located at 3339 South Hemlock. The residential motel. Application will be against the criteria of municipal code chapter 17.44. And the design review criteria. Okay. Does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the design review board to hear this matter at this time? Does any commission member believe he or she has a conflict of interest or personal bias? Has any commission member had any ex parte contacts or made a site visit?
Site visit.
Visit.
I also made a site visit. Okay, and then I would ask for the staff report.
Thank you. The Wayside Inn is seeking to relocate the dumpster storage area from its current location at the north end of the parking lot to the southeast corner of the property. This would alleviate difficulties refuse collection vehicles are having accessing the dumpsters in their current location. Excuse me. This item was originally heard by the Design Review Board in May of 2022, and additional information was requested by the applicant by the board during that hearing. The minutes and staff report provided in the packets. As can be seen in the minutes, the DRB requested additional landscape, including a landscape and site plan showing the requested additional landscape materials to buffer the corral from right of way and specific parking in corral locations. And as of the writing of this report, the revised project overview with a attached sketch of the facility has been the only information provided by the applicant. However, we do have the applicant tonight, and I believe he mentioned that he has some additional landscaping information for the board.
Okay. Is there any additional correspondence?
No.
Okay. Call for public testimony and state. What is state? Statement? Pertinent criteria to be considered are noted in the staff reports and listed in the criteria sheets posted. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward that criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or municipal code. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements of evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal based on that issue. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional testimony, arguments, or evidence regarding the application. The Design Review Board will grant such requests by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written testimony, arguments, or evidence. Persons who testify shall first receive recognition from the chair, state their full name and mailing address, and if appearing as a representative, identify whom they represent. Okay, is there a presentation by the applicant? That would be you.
Yeah.
You're on.
I need to move up. Is that what you're saying? I'm hard of hearing, so.
Welcome to the club.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm sorry, what's your name? Your name?
Bill Weitzel,
How do I spell the last name?
Weitzel.
And your address.
And your address?
Post Office Box 91, Cannon Beach,
Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome.
So what would you like to do?
It was my understanding that you need information on our idea for landscaping
Okay,
and this is what I come up with. And there's just several copies of that. And I heard the term that there needs to be some kind of a site map. The plan or something. And I understand trying to conceal this thing. I mean, I want to see it concealed as well, but I don't want to make a jungle out of it, but
Right. Well, Hallmark has, I think, a similar situation as you. They have a kind of a wooded enclosure around what I'm assuming is their dumpster area. And
yeah, they're
pretty much sits right on the street without a lot of concealment. So when I did the site visit, I mean, there's some grasses there.
there is lawn.
It's going to be on pavement, so I'm not quite sure how much room you have for
Yeah.
planting. But I wasn't on the DRB last year when it first came before, but I was glad to see that the cyclone fence was reconsidered and more natural material,
Right,
treated wood, but it'll match.
match the building.
So I guess I feel like that's meeting the
There-
criteria.
I think we talked about this last year. There was no,
It's been a while. I got, yeah.
there was no visibility issue with that exit.
No,
I took the exit just for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like trying to go back and remember.
Yeah, and it's far enough back from the stop sign that it
Yeah.
like it'll be visually for anybody. So, yeah. And then,
What kind of bushes you're talking about planting?
it's. I don't know the name of it, but I see them growing everywhere around here. It's a real common one. The elk seem to like it.
Bologna,
Spalonia, Cenothus,
What's that?
Cenothus.
It grows pretty good. It's pretty hardy and I could take a chunk of it to 7Ds, see if they can name it for me. But the other ones I had in mind, 7Ds at the time I went up there was limited to the selection of shrubs. One of them was a dwarf strawberry tree. And
that sounds yummy.
I was wondering how the elk like that one. But anyway, yeah, I want to keep it somewhat alike around there. I don't want to, like I say, create a jungle and a variety of stuff. But
Are the Escalonia?
and I want to see it maintained and trimmed to the top of the
Yeah,
brow and,
I'd like to encourage like a native plant.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
What this kind of seems to be.
okay.
But we've got this hedge on the north side of the property that borders us and the neighbors on that
Yeah.
side. And I was just thinking that would be appropriate for this area
Yeah,
because it's easy to keep maintained and it's not a fast growing one, but it's not a slow grower either. So
And then the area that go ahead, Harvey.
Harvey.
Just a quick a question, where are you going to place these new plants?
the plants would be towards the highway and the other roadway there.
On the 101 side?
Yeah, on the 101 side, and I guess that side street's Warren Street, is that correct? Yeah.
Okay,
We currently have a juniper growing in that same area that's going to stay. There's a smaller one we would like to remove and transplant somewhere else. The large barked area, we want to convert that into lawn. And just make it more of a grassy area and stuff, but then have the hedge around this fencing.
Well, just on one side.
It would be on the east and the south side. So,
Packet includes I guess you call it a sketch that shows what the new enclosure might look like.
yeah,
I guess I'm wondering what is the height,
There it is. There it is. Okay.
height of the dumpster itself and the height of the corral.
I think I mentioned 5 feet in the dimensions. I don't have that with me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like 14 by 12.
I just got notified of this late yesterday.
So at any rate, the enclosure would be at least as tall as the dumpster.
Would be taller than the dumpster.
Okay.
How tall is the dumpster?
I'm not sure exactly how tall it is, but it would be shorter in height than my proposed corral.
Okay,
It would sit inside, you wouldn't see it. Plus, we've got those recycle containers and those would also be inside this.
mhm,
So it looks like from the diagram, there's going to be 2 parking spaces that will be used.
It's actually one, that little area to the right is kind of like a little triangle space.
Height.
So by moving this, are you going to create 2?
By moving this, I am going to gain more than 2.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
And I wasn't sure where your handicap parking space.
we have 2 currently now.
Okay.
Right next to the office there.
Okay.
One is, I want to say van accessible, it's extra wide. And the other one is just kind of a standard size, but it is marked for handicap.
Okay,
excuse me, how does the garbage hauler access your bins? Well, is this a door we're looking at and or what are we
Yes,
seeing?
you're looking at a double gate that would swing outward.
Pretty big
Yeah.
gate.
is that
What's that?
it for what you have?
Sorry.
Are you finished with what you have? You have more to present?
No, that's all I have to present.
Are there any presentations by proponents? Any presentations by opponents? Is there a further staff response?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay,
I would make a motion to approve
the site plan.
the site plan and the landscaping.
Well, let's do them one at a time. Is there a motion to approve the site plan?
I make a motion to approve the site plan.
I second.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Is there a motion to approve the architectural design, which would be I guess, the corral?
Oh, did you say, is there a motion? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I make a motion to approve the architectural design.
Second, anyone?
second,
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Opposed? Okay, that's good. Is there a motion to approve the landscape design?
I'd like to,
There a discussion?
I'd like to just suggest that you, when you do go to 70s, to ask for native
Yeah,
Oregon or coastal plants.
yes.
Encourage like butterflies and birds, but just ask them for native plants.
Yeah.
Instead of just what's around.
Right.
I guess my
Is it-
question would be, do we need a landscape plan to look at?
Oh, interesting.
Or can we just go based on what?
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure if they need to specify exactly what is going to be planted. Not sure on that aspect, if we need that sort
And
of.
they just promise.
Yeah. all over.
Mission it to require them to use native plantings,
Great.
that's certainly doable.
But do we want to make sure that it's not a native plant that's going to grow so big that it does obscure,
I say, I'm not trying to create a jungle here,
Yeah.
trying to
right?
help conceal a
Yeah,
dumpster.
can we say a native plant that's under a certain measurements? Can we do that or make that motion? That,
Yeah,
okay,
and native plants suitable to the purpose of screening. I am not,
I mean, I'm assuming that when I get these plants, they will have to grow a little bit.
Yeah.
to Cover the fence,
Mhm.
and they can tell you how big they're gonna get.
so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the landscaping. Oh God, how do you say it? Saying that they will plant a native plant. Due to screening, for screening purposes, sorry, already forgot.
You have some native plants though that are specific to what that motion,
I'm not a fan of CNO this, but
native to Cannon Beach or native to,
I think it's just a coastal, like.
Yeah.
And that's a like quick grower and. Bird trail. I don't, you're better at plants than I am.
well,
Could approve the description that Bill presented
mhm.
with provision that the plantings be native.
Yeah,
coastal.
I trust Bill to
Sounds
plant,
good.
Thank you.
it's gonna work. Yeah, so. I'll
I'm
second,
terrible at making up motions.
I will second your motion.
Okay. Those in favor,
I,
opposed? Okay, I think we're done.
thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, people. Appreciate it.
A lot of paper here.
Yeah, you can get extra.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Quasi judicial hearing regarding. Consideration of DRB 23-02, Ben Cox application for placement of a vehicle gate at Tolovana Park parking area. Ben Cox, on behalf of Tolovana Beach State Recreational Area. For the placement, I already said that. Property is owned by Oregon Parks and Recreation Department and is located at 160 West Warren Way. In a park management zone, application may be reviewed against the criteria of the municipal code, chapter 27. And other design. Does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the design review board to review this matter at this time? Does any commission member believe he or she is in conflict of interest or personal bias? Has any commission member had any ex parte contacts or made a site visit?
Site visit.
I visit.
Site visit. Okay. So the staff report.
excuse me. The proposed project is the installation of a vehicle access gate at the Warren Way entrance to the Tolovana Beach State Recreation Site. The gate is intended to prevent overnight parking and vehicular camping. The design will consist of two sections that will meet and lock at the entrance without a center lock post. For the design review standards, the staff comment is that the purpose of the gate is to restrict overnight vehicle access and prevent overnight parking, which is not permitted at that location by Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. Both the city of Cannon Beach and OPRD frequently receive complaints about overnight camping from neighborhood residents, especially during the tourist season. The gate will not create any impediment to access during the site's operating hours and will not interfere with access to the recreation site, its public beach access, or its restroom facilities by pedestrians or individuals with disabilities that affects their mobility. For architectural design criteria, there is no architectural component, and the same for landscaping. There will be no changes to the landscaping beyond the installation of the gate. So this is a site design only. That concludes the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Additional correspondence, we got an email, I guess this is from someone named Tom Keller. Says, I'm a resident at 188 Fernwood Street. I'm concerned that installing a gate for Tolovana Park will result in worse driving behavior after sunset. Specifically, I have observed on one occasion a vehicle driving from the corner of Fernwood and Pacific over the grass and into the park, the northeast corner of the park. We're concerned that installing a gate will be ineffective in preventing vehicles from entering the park after hours. Instead, I would encourage the petitioner to consider a complete park fencing / barrier project. Pertinent criteria to be considered are noted on the criteria sheets. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward that criteria. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by sufficient evidence will preclude appeal based on the issues. Prior to the discussion of initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may request the opportunity to present additional testimony, arguments, or evidence. Design review will grant such requests. Persons who testify will receive recognition from the chair, state their full name, mailing address, and if appearing as a representative, who they represent. Is there a presentation by the applicant?
There, excuse me, I'm Bo Ensign. I'm the ranger supervisor for the Nehalem Bay Management Unit, which includes Tolovana State Recreation Site. I'm here on the behalf of Ben Cox, who is the applicant. Oh, do you need my address? Yeah. ENSIGN, and the first name spelled BO.
Yes, and your address.
34600 Gary Street, GAREY. That's Nehalem, Oregon 97131. Okay, so I don't actually have a presentation, so to speak. Did want to throw in there that it's Ben Cox as opposed to Brian Cox in the staff report here at the beginning, just a small error on that part. There's quite a bit in there about the intent of the gate being to close it every night after hours. That's not necessarily the primary intent of the gate, although that could be the purpose of it at some point if we see a pattern continue of overnight parking that gets to be a bit out of control. We have a good partnership with the city and with the police department. They've done a really good job of patrolling and getting the word out to folks that had started taking advantage of a loophole that was there that had that designated as a overnight rest area. So the main purpose of the gate is to be able to close in the event of things like global pandemics. When we had to shut down the parking lot, we ended up putting up wooden barricades, which were easily moved and not too effective. People could move those out of the way. And then also for maintenance purposes, if we need to close the parking lot for restriping or cleaning, that kind of thing, or if there's a major infrastructure failure, or in the event of a tsunami, we've had times where we've had to clear parks out. People tend to be drawn to that as opposed to staying away. And so just wanted to clarify that a little bit, that the primary intent is not necessarily to close every single night.
Okay.
Oh.
You've submitted a group of, looks like 5 different designs for Central Food. Is there a proposal to use one of these?
I believe Ben sent these in. These are just examples of other similar gates. It would appear most similar to this particular one with the snow in the background. It's powder coated brown as opposed to galvanized. We thought that might fit in a little bit better. And then there's also the reflective striping so that
More of a
when it's closed.
crossbar than a gate then.
Right, correct.
Okay. Presentation, other presentations by proponents. Presentations by opponents. Is there further staff response?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay. How would we address these comment raised by Tom Keller about people driving in all over the place? My observation is that about 85% of the perimeter could be driven over very easily to get to the parking lot. Is there a thought about
There's no proposal right now to, put any kind of barriers up around the park. I think that comes along with, some potential liability, people tripping over things. We could look at that if that is, what the city and the community desires. There was at one time a fence that ran the entire length of Fernwood Street that was removed at the request of local residents and the city some years back. It was basically a chain link fence and was the most sightly thing out there. So I definitely recognize that people could drive over the curb, across the grass and into the parking lot. Other people have brought that up. But if, somebody does that, that's a pretty obvious and egregious violation. I guess you could say if the gate's closed and locked and it's signed as such, and vehicles observed inside that area, then there would be an enforcement that would follow that. So.
okay? Guess there's no reason to not have a gate, but I'm wondering how effective it'll be.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the site plan?
I feel like that gate does not fit the architectural design criteria. And I'm not sure how to approve it. Given that, I didn't measure, but the east side of the gate, when it swings out, to me, seems like it's gonna go out into the parking lot and potentially create a driving issue for people hitting it. So, and just the reflective tape and the brown metal coating, to me, just seems out of character with Cannon Beach. And just so I'm just looking at our criteria and I'm having a hard time seeing how to support that. And yeah. I'm not quite sure what that message is when we put a gate up there too, that if it's not a specific, like it's going to be locked from, which I don't support either. But if it's just going to be left open and then randomly for the various reasons that you stated, it will be locked. Those seem few and far between enough that I don't know that it really warrants having a gate. Having the barriers that you stated were placed there in a specific event seem like they may have worked. But
So what would be your motion then?
well, I guess I would deny based on the architectural design criteria. And the reasons for its needing to be there.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
I'm a tiny bit like, so it's just for maintenance purposes? Because I was under the impression that it was for like locking it every night.
It's dual purpose, I guess you could say. It could serve multiple purposes. Just our experience of the last few years with trying to control that parking lot at the times that we need to, if there's an emergency, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's difficult to manage that. I think that part of what started that conversation was, the overnight camping that got a bit out of control this last year. There was one evening where I walked through after hours, around midnight. There was 55 vehicles in there, RVs, various camping units. So that I think is what started that conversation. But
How is it designated an overnight parking area?
I'm sorry, what's that?
You state that it's been designated an overnight parking area, is that?
There, so it had existed on ODOT's list of rest areas. So basically there was a rest area in, the south end of Cannon Beach here. Didn't really fit with typical ODOT rest area criteria, having a rest area in the middle of a neighborhood. So that is, essentially what started that conversation was this is getting overwhelmed with overnight visitors.
So it was by ODOT's own information that people thought they could camp there.
Correct. Yes. But that's since been changed because it doesn't really fit in with the criteria of a typical rest area.
So are we trying to, so say they show up at 3:00 in the afternoon, are people shoving them out after hours? I don't know what after hours is, but.
So it's currently posted as dawn till dusk.
Yeah.
That's a typical, day use facility for Oregon State Parks. So those can either be managed strictly by a posted time, but different times of the year, sunsets at different hours, people being in a park after dark is usually not the greatest thing unless it's a designated camping area. So
is there a possibility people get locked in and then they start driving over the grass that we were just talking about?
So
Out?
yeah, again, the intent for, as it stands right now, we're not going to go and lock that gate every night as soon as it gets dark. We've got a partnership with Cannon Beach Police. They patrol that routinely.
Okay.
They make a lot of contacts with folks that knowingly or not decide to stay the night there, and they tend to move them along. So that's really helped with, kind of getting the overnight camping crisis kind of tamped down a little bit. So
And the reason you don't want people to camp there were there complaints from the neighbors that they didn't want a quasi RV park sort of atmosphere taking place?
that's part of it. It's also not managed as an overnight camping area. So with Oregon State Parks, there's most of parks are day use areas. So there's camping allowed only in facilities that are designed for that. And Tolovana really isn't designed for overnight camping. So a place like Nahalem Bay State Park, where you have RV hookups, you've got facilities with showers,
But a rest area,
dumps and those kinds of things.
but viewing it as a rest area, which is what it originally was for people to stay that have been traveling. And that got changed because,
Because it was, again, overwhelmed with overnight campers.
Are the restrooms open 24 hours? Locked up at night?
We've had a partnership with the Cannon Beach Police Department. They've locked them down at after hours for us. You know, we don't have a real set policy on that. Generally, they have been left open after hours, but there was in the last few years an uptick in interesting activity in there. I guess you could say hypodermic needles, people sleeping in there, people doing all kinds of
And
undesirable things.
so I was just going to add that, no, there's no overnight camping in an RV in the city of Cannon Beach. You can't do that unless it's in a designated RV area. So that's not allowed there anyhow by our ordinance as well. So,
But isn't that state property?
and management issue, it's in the city of Cannon Beach.
Oh, okay, I was good.
So, where we're at, Anita, you had made a motion to deny the.
well, I don't,
site plan.
I mean, I
You sticking
I don't
with
know
that?
if we can table this and just sort of see maybe if Cannon Beach Police would want to come and give their, I mean, I don't know if that's a valid request to just to understand what I mean, if the gate is just there to be there and it doesn't really serve the purpose of being closed every night or really limiting the activity, then I'm not quite sure.
Use is a little too loosey-goosey, in my opinion. Like, when, are we closing it every night? Are
Right.
we not closing it? Are we closing it for campers? Are we closing it because we're striping?
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
I just,
Some more information and to support you and the state parks department, but I guess I just feel like at this point, I can't fully support it, but I don't know that we should out and out deny it, given some of the information that we have regarding the activity that takes place there. So maybe just table it. I don't know. What's your feeling there, Chair?
Harvey's trying to say something, I think.
Oh, Harvey.
First of all, I'm really happy that to hear that you're not going to close it at sunset. We often drive down there for a view of the ocean, and usually lined up along the front row are our neighbors. Cannon Beach residents seem to really enjoy spending time down there, and often it's after sunset. So I'm happy to hear that. And just that gate is so small and unobtrusive that I'm not. I mean, aesthetically it would be nice, but there's not much you can do to a gate. I assume it's gonna, when it turns, when you swing it open, it will be up against some landscaping and somewhat disappear there. So I would say as long as it's not gonna close the park, and it was relatively obscure, I'd have to favor it. You will need it from time to time. The police may find a good reason to close that gate.
Well, it sounds like Harvey's your guy to make a motion. Sounds like Harvey's your guy to make a motion.
I thought you guys had already made a motion to table it.
No.
I was just asking if that was the appropriate next step.
Harvey, do you care to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, I move we approve.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
Is there a second? Doesn't sound like there's.
Oh, you can. I want to promise that they're not just gonna willy-nilly close it all the time. That's all. Like, I mean, can we make a motion to approve if they
So,
don't close it all the time?
so the motion fails, so you can make another motion.
Okay. I don't know, is that a real motion to say
To what?
is,
Motion to approve, deny, or to continue?
yeah, I guess I would like a motion to continue just
Yeah.
because I'd like to know more about
So
not, I mean,
that would be to a date certain. So when's the next hearing?
I don't have
You can just pull up your calendar and go to the third Thursday.
That would be March 16th.
Yeah.
Be the same date, yeah.
is that some sort of information you can give us that?
Well, that's what
What
we
the-
ask for.
Yeah, if you have a specific request, then we can, try to put together something that, information and
Yeah, I just
I would-
be that like what Harvey's saying, like you're saying, oh, we're not gonna close it, but we don't really know, like.
yeah, like I said, it's more so that you can close it if you need to.
Yeah.
So again, things like tsunami warnings.
Yeah.
We run around and we have to chase people out of parking lots, those kinds of things. I don't think that it would be a thing that we would be closing all the time,
Yeah.
say, haha, stay out.
Okay,
It's more of a as needed way to, control that parking lot and keep it from
I'd
parking.
like to see
I believe you.
possibility of a different material other than the brown powder coated metal with the zebra striping reflective, if that's a possibility, since it's not going to be closed every night or day, if we could make it a little bit more.
I think that
So that's what I would like to see brought back is the possibility of different gate material.
This
Used.
picture is a little more,
That's still metal though, isn't it? But,
it's probably still metal. I mean,
but,
I agree with Harvey. I think it will disappear. Like,
well, from what I saw, I don't
Man.
know that I would have.
to span the distance required, it would almost have to be metal.
yeah, that's what I was going to add is that I'm not sure what other materials are out there other than metal or something that would have a similar look.
Okay.
Because it's I think 45-ish feet across that opening.
Yeah,
And it's
that's where I'm
it's
also,
hard to make that look good, honestly.
right?
And-
Well,
Reflective striping is for safety. So
You could wrap it in cedar.
there we go.
Yeah.
Cladding on there.
If
well,
it's
and I'd be
only,
curious about when that east side swings out into the parking lot, what your thoughts are about how much.
Not a great overview of the parking lot, but if you have a chance to go down there and look at it, you'll see that as you're coming off of Warren Way into the parking lot, there's kind of an island there of
Right.
grass and a sidewalk, and it would stop short of the sidewalk, so it wouldn't impede people walking through. Those swing out like into, so not sticking out into the parking lot itself. On one side, there's some shore pine. The other side is a little bit more of just a grassy area,
Okay.
and they have tie back posts that they're attached to for safety so that they can't swing.
That's where maybe just staking off exactly where this swing out to would be something that I'd be interested in looking at just to get a better vision.
We could, put
that-
something on the ground and say, post.
Sure.
Yeah.
That would be great just to see that, but so you made a motion to table this to next month? That,
I
where,
did.
okay, so I will second that.
Okay, those in favor?
I,
I
Aye.
I mumbled.
Opposed? Okay. Carried. Table it. One.
any questions? about
Oh, yeah, just a quick question, if I may, is if you can send us, whatever you would like in terms of more information, whether that's criteria for closing or,
Yeah.
present something a little more coherent than whatever I just gave you.
Whatever.
Okay.
Like-
Right.
Yeah, if you can send that to me, then I can send it to Stitz, so I've got their contact information.
And then I'll try to make sure that that the manager, Ben Cox, is here so that he can, speak to it a little bit more so.
All right,
And I'll also reach out to the police department and get their
that would be good.
concurrence.
Input from them.
I just worried too about that, the citizen that was like, oh, people are gonna cause a mess and then imagine people.
Going to send in
there and-
something that describes what we want or what.
We can put some together, but yeah, I think it's important to let the community know that these gates aren't here to keep you out. That it's just for emergency purposes, maybe say something along those lines, but I think that's going to be important for the community to know that we're not locking you out every night.
Yeah, that's not the sole intent, and it
Right.
seemed like that was in some of the verbiage here, and just it potentially could be if there's ongoing issues and
Right.
it's determined that the best way to deal with it is to lock the gates at night. But right now,
Sure.
we don't have the desire to have rangers on 24/7
Sure.
to open and close gates, but we can discuss that later. if
Right.
Needed.
Thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, third item is quasi judicial hearing. Consideration of DRB 2303, Jason Menke application for exterior modification to the Sea Level Bakery and Coffee House. He is owned by Jason and Elizabeth Menke and is located at 3116 South Hemlock in limited commercial zone. The application will be reviewed against the criteria of municipal code chapter 17.44. Design review criteria. Design review criteria. Okay. Does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the design review board to hear this matter? Does any commission member believe he or she has a conflict of interest or is a personal bias? Has any commission member had an ex parte contacts or made a site visit?
Site visit.
Have you
Site visit.
site visit? Okay. Any additional correspondence? No staff report.
No, there is no additional correspondence beyond the 5 comments that have been received. Excuse me. Moving into the staff report. This application is a major review of the expansion of the Sea Level Bakery at the intersection of South Hemlock and West Delta Streets. An expansion of the building in addition of a second floor cafe, seating, staff room and office space and a storage area was approved in August 2021 in file number DRB 21-22. During that hearing, the board found that the site plan would have little impact on the surrounding traffic circulation patterns, view sheds, or scaling, and that the building footprint was within the normal size for the Tolovana neighborhood. At that time, the board concluded that the addition would be a positive improvement for the neighborhood. In January 2023, the Community Development Department received a building permit application from the owners. As part of a review of that application, staff determined that a DRB review was necessary due to changes in the submitted plans versus what was approved in 2021. A minor review request was submitted, and a determination was made that the new plans were significant enough to warrant a major review. The current plans are for an expansion of the building with an additional production space, staff room, office storage, and a replacement of the upstairs seating area with a residential space that would be less than 50% of the square footage of the structure. The most significant changes externally are the elimination of the dormers, an increase in roof peak height from approximately 22 feet above average grade to approximately 26 feet above average grade, and the use of vertical siding on the upper level. Additionally, there are changes in fenestration, particularly the windows. Moving into the site design evaluation. Excuse me. The originally approved site plan was found to have little anticipated impact on the surrounding pedestrian and vehicular traffic circulation patterns, view sheds, or scaling. The approximately 1,500 square foot building footprint was found to be within the normal size of the Tolovana neighborhood, and the sidewalks, parking, and circulation systems would remain unchanged. The submitted revision does not make any significant changes to the previously approved plan and would not change the footprint of the originally authorized expansion. A total of 7 parking spaces would remain along West Delta Street, with 1 indicated to be ADA accessible with a loading and unloading area. The residential use would require 1 dedicated parking space, Per CVMC 1778020 off-street parking requirements, as it is less than 50% of the total square footage. The remaining 6 spaces, which include the ADA space, would satisfy the requirements to provide 1 space per 400 square feet of commercial area. Moving into the architectural design criteria. The staff comment is that the most significant architectural changes include the elimination of dormers, an increase in roof peak height, and the use of vertical siding on the upper level. Additionally, there would be changes in fenestration, particularly windows. The new building height is less than the 28-foot maximum allowed for structures with a roof that have a pitch greater than 5/12. The new design provides for height differences in roof line that were not present in the original design. Additionally, the use of vertical cedar siding on the second level in conjunction with shingle siding on the ground floor provides a visual contrast that reduces the monolithic appearance that may be present with a wall using only one type of siding. And then moving into the landscape design evaluation criteria, the staff comment is that the landscaping plan does not indicate any significant changes from what was originally approved. In DRB 21-22, the board found that had approved a covered patio that provides approximately 400 square feet of outdoor seating. This patio area provided a planting bed along the northeastern corner of South Hemlock Street frontage, which is shown on the revised plans. The revised plans also show additional plantings along the western property line. And that concludes the staff report.
Okay. So call for public testimony. Not going to repeat this again. But a presentation by the applicant.
We can speak to it if that's helpful.
Well, do you have something to speak to us about?
You want us to go?
Was Vito gonna speak?
Yeah, he is
So,
available.
yeah, I've got Vito on here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm available if there's any questions with the modifications.
Yeah, I mean, I can just say a couple words, I guess. Do you need our names? Jason and Elizabeth Menke.
And your address?
Do you like a PO box or
Yeah, that's fine.
PO box 548? Cannon Beach.
And who was the voice in the background?
Vito, that's Vito Sorelli is our architect.
Vito Sorelli, 31897 Maxwell Lane, Arch Cape, Oregon.
Is he an architect? Thank you.
So we're here because we have a fairly big project for us. As noted, this was previously approved, I think it was August 2021. And quite a bit has happened since then in our world, but also just in like in our personal world, but also in the construction world in general, as I'm sure you all are aware of. So that has just dictated lots of changes along the way. And I think the biggest change that happened for us was the costs have risen significantly. And so that just required us to start taking a look at what we could change to bring some costs down again. And one of those major ones was the removal of the dormers on that north side there, which is the bottom picture there. So that was the major change. We also needed change. We needed to maintain as much height in the downstairs where the bakery is on the downstairs portion, the west portion of it, in order to maintain, for the equipment that we have in place. And so that's part of what dictated the roof height extending a little bit. We were very, all along, our goal and intention was to maintain as much as we possibly could the cottage look and feel of our building, because we love that. And so that's why the east portion of the building has remained completely untouched. And And since this was last approved in August 2021, the only changes that we're aware of that are pertinent tonight are the upstairs portion of the look and feel and the windows. Because the rest of it's all the same footprint, same parking, same landscaping. Did I miss anything?
You're going from doing cafe seating upstairs to residential. Is that going to be long-term, short?
Never had cafe seating upstairs.
Right, but I think that was the original plan, was to have storage and cafe seating up.
Yes, there was a plan to have some cafe seating upstairs. That's right. So that was intended to be over the east end of the building. Actually, would change the look and feel of it, and that was just costs were super prohibitive to do something like that. So our plan is to have indoor seating again, like we used to have before COVID, and this remodel will allow us to get that back in place.
So the upstairs is residential.
The upstairs is mixed use, so it's kind of a manager apartment style is the goal over the west end of it, and then the east end over the existing structure is staff, like office and storage, which is what it is now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Current use.
Unfortunately, I really like the design with the dormers.
Yeah, I know. That little cottagey look was
And the foot
something that was,
with that submittal.
yeah.
I think it looks really good.
Is there, I guess my question would be, is there some way to dress up the windows design so that it doesn't look so monolithic?
I mean, this just looks.
Well, I think that vertical siding will like break that up.
No. it helps.
That's what we believe.
Yeah, I think so. Like in the shingles and vertical siding, I think it looks.
There's a neighboring home in our block and they have the same configuration of shingles and vertical siding. And it's really beautiful to look at.
I think so too.
It actually takes your eye to different places and it's interesting to spend time even gazing. So.
And we also, I guess we feel strongly that it still matches the look and feel of Cannon Beach and our neighborhood. So.
Well, you got some good support letters in our packet, so, and I'm ready
I'm ready to make a motion.
to approve.
Well, let's see.
We'll have to take proponents and opponents.
Are there
But we didn't.
any presentation by proponents? Do we want to enter these letters? Is that
If they've already.
Yeah,
been
they're already
distributed,
entered into the
they're-
record.
okay? Any presentation by opponents? Any further staff response?
Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. This would be condition number 1 under the architecture plan, which is that all necessary building permits be obtained and final inspections completed. And that would be the only condition we have.
Do we need to approve the site plan?
No, but they get one response to any of what's been proponents or what we've said. So yeah, any last statement kind of thing.
I think we'll just be quiet now.
So let's, is there a motion to approve the site plan?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan.
Second,
Those in favor,
aye.
opposed?
Did we lose Harvey?
Harvey? Okay.
Is Harvey still there?
I'm still here. The site plan's fine. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
There-
I don't know where I might get into this discussion, but there's this, compared to the previously approved design, there's a serious large loss of charm here. You've given up an awful lot for function. Your form is seriously diminished, and I hate to see that. How much would it have cost to put the dormers on?
Vito might be able
Might
to.
be a question.
I
for
mean, we
Vito.
don't have an exact cost, but we're, as we all know, the construction costs have gone up tremendously these last couple of years, and looking for all ways to make this project work financially for sea level to become operational. Right now, their current conditions are at a breaking point with respect to their baking. And so that was a big priority. I think with respect to the design, again, these 2D images, I don't think, do it necessarily justice with how this, addition will respond. I think the building around the corner that they brought up has the cedar shingles and the cedar siding, vertical on the top. And, we worked to put some windows facing that north facade, but again, leaving somewhat privacy from that upper floor. There's a lot of windows on the west side opening up to that deck and that kind of partially covered patio off that west end. So I agree the dormers were nice, but this was, trying to work through a compromise to, one, allow their business to stay operational, and still try to maintain as much charm as we could.
Yeah, extremely valuable business you have going there. So how about just shutters on the windows?
I mean, those are items we haven't discussed. I'd have to talk to Jason and Liz about them. Again, I think a lot of the cedar detailing and the window configuration will bring some charm, like once this building comes to life with the true building materials, and have that natural cedar look. Like this isn't going to be a cement board or a painted product. Like we're definitely working at keeping the natural tones and try to blend in with the surrounding context.
Okay, thank you.
I had asked Jeff if this would be considered as a new standalone design or application of the previous one, and Jeff told me he thought it would be a new standalone design. So if that's the case, then we probably shouldn't be even talking about the dormers.
We might be talking about the loss of charm, though. We might be talking about the loss of village feel, and the materials change doesn't help a lot. So I think it's appropriate that we talk about what has happened to the appearance. And the building as it stands is quite charming and quite village. It's really, really great. So it is important, the loss of style. Even from the original building to this one. But it should make a good business space, and it's presentable.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the architectural design?
I'd make a motion to approve the architectural design.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I would just say that being a local and seeing what Jason and Liz do with that business, it's wonderful. And knowing Vito as an architect, that I have full confidence in their ability to make it as charming and wonderful as it has always been. So.
Okay.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, motion to approve the landscape design. Essentially,
The motion to approve the landscape design because they said it's staying the same basically.
as previously submitted. Yes.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
Okay,
And I just want to thank you for your giving us over your place. That's why
I hope it's working out.
it's a great location.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you guys know when construction might start? If I can ask, is that like as soon as possible or?
As soon as possible.
All right.
Yep.
All the best.
Our goal is
Thank you.
Well, and you'll stay open, closed?
in some capacity, we're hoping to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. All the
Thank you.
best.
Yeah, thank you.
good luck. Motion for the chair to sign appropriate orders.
And a motion, I don't know, done this before.
So
To make-
moved would be-
What?
So moved.
So moved, okay.
Second,
Second,
all in favor,
I,
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Discussion item. Go to the order.
You wait, I have something on the discussion.
Okay,
really?
yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know if, if you want to do mine now or good of the order, but my discussion item is simply kind of procedural matters. I know that what happened with the last DRB meeting, I wasn't here for. I was on vacation. But I know what transpired and the appeal that went forward from that. And, I think there's some tweaks that need to be kind of worked out in the processes. I mean, Dave's new to the chair position as well. And so that will work out. Just a few things from like tonight's, a couple times you guys did not close the meeting. It's a good practice to close the meeting after you have asked for all your comments, pro and opponent and proponent, and then give them another chance to the applicant to respond to that, and then close the meeting. And then you guys discuss. You can ask questions of the applicant prior to that, but don't start mixing that stuff up, because then it gets to be where Harvey was doing, was questioning them. Can you do this? Can you do that?
Yeah.
This is not that. You're reviewing an application before you. You may not like it, you may not, but that's for you guys to discuss amongst you what you don't like. Now, you can condition that. So you go through after you close the meeting and you're in discussion, you may decide, hey, I could approve this if these conditions were met, right? That's called a conditional approval. And so you could try that as a kind of, halfway point often, instead of just denying something, right? You see if they'll do that. And then if they come back and they do that, they accept it, then they don't have to do a whole new application. So there are ways, and you guys will start working on as a group as you start, doing this more often. But it's also good for staff and Emily as well over there. If you catch that they're not closing or they're not opening the for opponents and proponents, remind them. They get busy, they get concerned about the application. So, and then as far as your role is another thing, it's not, you all aren't here to do policy, anything inside that building. That's not really your concern. Your concern is the landscape, site plan, and exterior modifications. It says it in the ordinance, and sure, you want village character and all that, but you have to stick to those standards. And they're not the best standards. I've been saying it for 4 years. I'm saying it as I'm leaving. They're not good standards. They need to be changed. They're not clear. They're not objective. They put you guys at a disadvantage. They put the city at risk and at a disadvantage. And I think that is the majority of why what happened last month happened. And so, I don't fault you guys. I don't fault any of it. I think it's the process and what you all are working from. I've been appealed so many times at in this job, more than I'd ever been appealed in my entire career. Because of these codes. These codes are old, they need to be updated. And we cannot get away with subjective codes anymore. The state of Oregon is saying you cannot do that anymore. And so I think we're going to see a lot of changes throughout the state. It's not, okay. And so, but as far as procedures, I think what happened this last month was mainly procedures. And I think that if Jen or any of you guys want certain things in a design, you should get to have a voice in that earlier in the stage. And I think Jen said that in the meeting, and I side with that. But it's all a process thing. It can't be done at a case level. In other words, you've got a case, you read it as the standards, right? But the process needs to be worked on. And that's the code audit, the next meeting, not the next meeting, because they're presenting the report and you guys are getting feedback on your joint work session with them. The following one is supposed to be on that procedural matters. And so that's where you say, well, if you like the school project, for instance, or the city hall, that is a public meetings and all that. Everybody gets to come out. You don't have to be in the DRB role. You can come out as a citizen and say what you want and how you want that. Once they come up with a design for these things, they want feedback. They do outreach, building that schematic plan and those plans, and you get feedback all along the way. But for some of these projects like this, where it's just an addition, there's really not a process within our code for those kind of things. So it's like you said, you're getting things, I think Jen said, we're getting at the very end of the process. Yes, because it's not really spelled out in the code how these kind of projects are supposed to be done. And so I think that's what I'm here tonight to say is that, it can get better and it will get better, but you guys, when you go to that joint work session on this procedures, you want to make sure that you guys get input from citizens on these kind of additions, whether it's a minor or a major. Not something where somebody's using or changing the HVAC system or something like that, but for something that, is adding which is about half or a third more additional space to a facility. I think people want to have some say in that. And so have that done early. Then it comes before the city council as a policy issue. And they say, yes, we agree with these, kind of thing. So that's where I think it's a process thing. And that's where, I don't want, you guys to think that you're not appreciated for your commitment to the design review, because you should be. But you should have better code to be able to do that with. And you guys are the lucky ones because you will get to help build that over the next year. Okay.
It's lucky.
It is. I waited 4 years.
Given that, can I ask what it's going to look like going forward since the matter of the bathrooms is being appealed?
Yeah. You mean how that one's going to play out?
Yes.
I would say, okay, so what's going to happen with that? They did it on the record. So all they'll get is that information that has, your minutes and the meeting minutes and that they can watch the tape. They'll, also get what was in your packets.
Mhm.
That's what they get.
Mm-hmm.
Then they can make the decision.
They use the city council.
Yes, the council will make a city. The city as the applicant will, they can summarize their argument, what was made with that packet. But they can't enter any new evidence. They can't enter any, like some of the things that you guys said were, I'd like to do this, this, and this. They will know that because that's in the public record, right? So they can take that, and then if they think that they need to amend it or prove it, they can, I think a lot of what you guys said, how I think it's going to play out is they may overturn your decision. I do not know. But if they do, a lot of your changes were interior, family style kind of restroom, the water system, they're in fact, the interior stuff's not even a minor modification because there's no exterior change. But if, they can still, in other words, they could still deny it, but you guys still have your impact on your feedback. And they may then, from what I understand from the discussion that went on the other night after their scope of review, it sounded like, it made an impact on the way they're going to do future structures.
I disagree. I don't think we talked about interior that much at all. I think we said a little bit, but I think that we talked about like having a water station outside, lockers outside, parking in the back, and taking care of the tree that's already there and making it more of a parklet.
Yeah.
I think that it was like, we were just like talking about the inside too, but I don't think we were specifically hung up on inside. I think we talked about the outside a lot more. And I know.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that was discussed. And
Yeah.
and so what I'm saying is,
It was wild too, because it is a public space, so.
it is, but you had an application before you, your decision is on that application, not a wish list of what you want.
Yeah,
Okay, that is in fact what the city council is supposed to do when they tell the architect to go away and bring this back to them,
yeah,
right? And so as part of that process, right, it brings this back to us. When it comes back to them, that should be at a schematic phase to where, like you said, if the process is correct, the public has a chance to weigh in,
yeah.
right, at the early phase. It's not at design review. And that's, you know, so that's why even kind of when I'm talking about closing the meeting and then you go to discussion, it's to close off that kind of back and forth. You're not negotiating with the applicant.
Mhm.
And that's what that gets subjective. It puts the city at risk, and you know, I think what you're doing is blurring the lines of what that role is which is your design review board is to go by those criteria, not to go back and say, you know, we want you, you know, what if you could do this, or what if you could do that, or what if that's the architect's job. The architect's job is to bring you the plan and you review it. And, you know, that's even, and so when the city's the applicant, it even makes it more difficult because yes, you should. And that's why I think it needs to be a clear process from the beginning. So when you get that, you guys aren't yet having to kind of do.
Have the public input that should have been given.
It should have been.
Even this gate thing tonight was a little confusing because I was like, I'm not asking what your hours are. That has nothing to do with me, but I'm like, oh, is it going to be closed or is it going to be open?
Well,
And are people going to be driving over the landscaping? That was like is that what's going to happen? Like, are we watching for? So I'm like, I'm a little confused, but like,
well, that's where I'm not sure, you know, what sort of questions, I mean, just for information, you know, just to be able to vote on the criteria, you know, and if those kind of questions that maybe aren't pertinent are allowed. And that's where I get confused.
And that's why you have to stick with those standards and come back to those standards, you know, and sure enough, when you're thinking about building your next code, right? You should be thinking about all of these kind of areas that you feel, am I getting enough information on this? Am I, you know, that kind of thing. That's what you should take in and discuss with Marcy and Herb's work when you're building this next code, because that's what you want to have. Make sure that you have those kind of things if you feel they're important to the design, you know. And so it will be it'll be an interesting process, and it'll be
so the city council will set an appeal date for the city to come before them, or they?
So no,
that's
they
done.
just did that with the scope.
So that's done.
So it's first Tuesday, I think, of next month.
Okay, and then so there's no more further discussion from DRB or the city. That's just
From no,
going by the record.
yeah, they will decide it on the record.
Okay.
You know, and they can decide to overturn it or you know,
Send it back, remand it.
you know,
Do that?
I think that is at the I'll check though. You could bring up that ordinance if you want, but I think that is at the scope of review. They have that opportunity. They have 4
Okay.
opportunities. to
Okay.
review. But I think at that meeting, they have to approve or deny.
Okay.
They may have the ability to you know, like a conditional type of approval where they make these changes.
But at the meeting, would there be opportunity if they had further questions of design review? I mean, I would like to be there just to hear, but is that a potential that they would ask for?
It shouldn't be. It
Okay.
should not. That's not usually how it goes. Not to
Okay.
say that you can have a representative there, and you know, if they decide to do that, I guess they can do that.
Okay,
You know, a lot of this goes to the council's discretion of how they want to do this.
okay,
But you know, they've stated, you know, it will be heard on the record. I don't know how much leeway they have after stating that, you know,
okay,
to clarify an aspect of you know, part of the record, as long as you're not presenting evidence and you're just summarizing the argument, I don't see where they can't do that.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Well, I appreciate that, Jeff, because yeah, I mean, I want to do things right and.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean, you guys dedicate your time and energy to do this. You're not just doing it for,
well, right, just to be overturned or over,
But, uh,
just, yeah.
yeah, and so I appreciate that. And, I think it's going to be I think it's an exciting time to be on this. I got Alicia to join on that too.
Mhm.
She left because it didn't happen quick enough, maybe. I don't know.
Mhm.
But anyhow, I hope it happens soon for you because it does need
Yeah,
to be resolved. Yeah.
Where does the DRB meeting go, from my standpoint as a novice chairperson? If I'm not doing something right, or if I miss something like closing the public hearing, feel free to jump in and tell me that I need to do that.
Yeah, we're here to support you and that's what we should be doing. And,
I guess
And I think all of us are trying, like, I spend a lot of time researching when I don't have a ton of extra time,
unfortunately are a relatively inexperienced committee with 4 of our members not having more than a year
Yeah.
or so.
yeah, it doesn't usually happen like this where.
About a year.
About a year.
Yeah.
I had one planning commission chair that was the chair for 30 years. That's rare to have so many come on new in 1 year time span.
Yeah,
But what Michelle does is a great thing. She'll give me things that she is interested in other areas or code, forwards that to me. I forward that to Herbs Works so that they can have that and know that that you guys are thinking about these kind of things. So anyhow, that's all I had to say. I appreciate getting to work with you the time I did. Good luck with things, and I'll be happy to come back. And I'm bringing in a pink building.
almost cement, right?
Yeah.
my favorite one.
Good luck with things.
Thank you, Jeff. You as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Go to the order. Anything coming up?
So just to make sure, so how do we get the information to Bo? So is that something
So-
that,
Email.
Send that to me.
okay, but am I,
You're designated.
okay, so,
I second.
so I think what I would do though is just do a rough draft and I will let the committee members see it as well as staff. And if there's any additions or changes before we send it, does that sound?
I'm sure Jen will watch the video later.
You can just forward it to
Yeah.
Robert and Robert will.
But that's where I think I want committee consensus. If I forget something.
Oh, yeah.
Good idea.
So I would do that. Okay.
Okay, I guess we're adjourned.
All right, thank you. Oh, did you have good of the order, anything?
Oh, sorry, Jen.
All right.
All right.